What is up, guys? Welcome back to Will of DDT. My name's Anonymous, and today we are bringing you another news video. There has been some exciting stuff announced for the One Piece card game. OP9 is shaping up to be really hyped, so let's get right into it, guys. Not gonna keep us waiting. First of all, we have Buggy Leader announced. We know exactly what his effect is gonna be, and it sounds pretty damn crazy, guys. So Buggy is a pure blue leader. That's appropriate, just given how many blue cards we have for him already. He's 5 life, 5,000 power, and activate main. You may rest 5 Dawn cards, discard 1 from your hand, and play up to 1 character with the cross guild type from your hand. This is a loaded effect, man, because it means as early as turn 3, you can just spend 5 Dawn to play potentially a 10 cost unit, because there's no cost specification on this effect. So the cross guild characters, obviously that's a very limited archetype. I'm sure we're not gonna see like a whole bunch of busted support for it right off the bat, but it really just does depend what cards they give us in OP9. If you're like me, as soon as you read this effect, you went to TCG Player or, a One Piece card database and just searched every single copy of Crocodile and Mihawk to see if any of them are cross guild. None of them are, I promise you. I checked already for you. Not a single one of them printed so far is cross guild. So yeah, I guess Bandai was kind of covering their ass with this one. They will be designing all cross guild characters with this leader in mind, I'm sure, going forward. But yeah, I mean, the fact that you can potentially play a 10 Dawn character for only 5 is insane. It's yet to be seen if they'll give us a 10 Dawn character, but that's pretty crazy. Also note that this is not a once per turn. It just says activate main. So on your 10 Dawn turn, you could actually use this twice if you wanted. You could play 2 10 cost characters from hand. The problem is you're losing the character and you're losing the discard, and then you'd be losing another character and you'd be losing another discard. So it'd be like, it'd cost you 4 cards from hand to make a play like that. So I'm not sure that's actually advantageous, but it is still an insane ability depending on what kind of support we get. And we might be seeing a little bit of that support sneak peek up ahead in this video. But let's get moving. Next up, we've got Shanks. Now, this is a leader. If you've heard about this one, there seems to be a lot of debate about how this guy is going to work, and it is honestly a little confusing. So we finally got a Shanks leader once again. Pretty exciting for fans of this character. He's 5 life, 5,000 power, but his effect, once per turn, you may activate this effect when your opponent attacks. Give up to one of your opponent's leader or characters minus 1,000 power for the turn. Now this is super goofy. It's basically just amounts to a 1k counter. That's really underwhelming if it works exactly how it sounds like it works. Yeah, just a 1k counter. Early game, mid game, sure, your opponent basically can't poke at your life, right? Like early game and mid game, sometimes you only do have 1 swing per turn, and Shanks just gets to counter out of it for free. So maybe I'm underestimating the value of it, but late game, this ability just seems ass, bro. Like this seems really undertuned. But myself, as well as some other people, are speculating that Bandai just kind of botched the writing of this effect, because if you look at a leader like Bonnie, right, like a Bonnie leader activates on the opponent's turn, and it activates when the opponent attacks. There is a specific keyword for that. There is an actual blurb, a little colored block that should appear in the text that says on opponent's attack, or when your opponent attacks, or I forget exactly how it's phrased, but something like that. Shanks doesn't have that. Shanks just says once per turn. So we see that block here. I know it's Japanese, but we can see there's a colored block here. It says once per turn. There is no colored block for on your opponent's attack. So some people are speculating that, Bandai may have just botched the writing of this card. Maybe this leader can give your opponent's character or leader minus 1,000 on either turn, right? And they're trying to say you may activate it when your opponent attacks, but you can also activate it on your own turn. In that case, the proper way to write this card would have been once per turn, and then on opponent's attack / on slash activate main. That would have been the better way to write it if that's what they intended. So I'm not sure that's what they intended. But yeah, that would be insane. If you got a Karasu effect where you just got to minus your opponent's leader by 1,000 just without any Dawn investment, without any characters on board, that's pretty freaking nuts. That would actually be insane and really, really good. But as it stands, if it really is just on opponent's attack, this is a pretty trash leader. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the future brings. I hope Shanks is good. I want Shanks to be good. But if you're looking for a 5-life red leader, the PRB1, whatever it's called, the Premium Booster Sanji, looks like a way better option than this. Anyway, guys, moving on, we got the alt arts for all of the OP9 leaders, and here they are. My goodness, this is sick, man. These alt arts, let me just say, these are heat. Let me just go through them all real quick. We've got our Buggy, we've got Blackbeard, Lim, Robin over here, Luffy, and Shanks. Really clean arts. These are all Oda originals, except for Lim, of course. Yeah, I mean, man, it's literally just the manga heads but bigger. But I love it. It's heat, man. This actually looks so good. Like, if the manga heads were your style, this will absolutely be your style. I feel like it just looks so much more impactful being this zoomed in on the character. The face just being so large in the frame, just personality full on display. It just looks awesome, man. I love Oda's artwork in this light, and I love how they foil these. Usually these manga heads have foiling on the outlines rather than the colored portions, and it just has this awesome inky sheen to it, bro. I'm so excited to see these in person. These look absolutely dope. And if you guys are paying attention here, obviously each of these leaders is being featured alongside one of the key support cards that it's going to come with. So we are going to go into those as well. People have already worked their magic and started translating the Japanese. This was just announced tonight, but we already have translations for all of these, so that is exciting, guys. So anyway, one last look at Buggy, Blackbeard, Lim, Robin, and Luffy, classic Gear 5 pose, that's dope, and Shanks looking sexy as ever. Yeah, man, these are really cool. But let's get into the support. So, first of all, this is, my goodness, man. This artwork is freaking fire, and I don't even think this might be the alt, actually. Yeah, this is an alt. I was going to say, this looks like it might just be a super rare and there may be an alt of this, but no, I think this is the alt. But this is an amazing artwork, bro. Shanks looks so dope here. Just looks so freaking edgy and cool. Just, you know, sitting there chillaxing, huge vampire collar out, sword way up in the frame, and all this red and black aura surrounding him. This just looks freaking insane, bro. Just Conqueror's hockey personified. I'm loving this. And let's get into these effects, guys. So we'll start with what I think. We'll go in the order of what I'm least excited about to most excited about. So this character is a support card for the new Nico Robin leader, who is a yellow-purple, if you recall. So the Nico Robin in OP9 is going to have this character, a 6 cost, 6k power, straw hat, and 1k counter. On play, if your opponent has 3 or more life cards, trash up to one of the top cards of your opponent's life. Jesus, man. And the trigger, play up to 1 cost 3 or less yellow character from your hand. You know, trigger might come up, nothing crazy. You are like kind of losing 2 cards overall. This from life and then 1 card from hand in order to use this trigger. The trigger's not insane. The on play really bothers me because notice it is not leader locked. If this was locked to Robin, cool. I'm fine with that. I want that to be a good deck. It honestly seems a little underpowered right now. I want Robin to do well. But this being a generic yellow card, just if your opponent has 3 or more life, just trash a life. I mean, this is just so stupid, man. I mean, we're getting like a Big Mom level of power here in just a 6 cost character. And she has counter. Like, she, you know, why does this card have counter? I just don't like yellow getting generic support because you know, especially when you have a leader like NL who is literally just the yellow good stuff deck, just a generic amazing leader ability that can be supported by every good yellow generic card. I don't like cards like this existing. Maybe I'm overestimating because you do have to have 3 or more life, so by the time that you would play this in the game, it's very possible your opponent only has 3 life anyway. But still, I mean, that's just free advantage. Like, if the card went to their hand or something, you know, that's fine. You could even make it a 5 cost at that point. But this just seems a little overpowered for me, and I don't like the fact that it's generic. But anyway, it is what it is. I'm a longtime yellow hater, so maybe I'm just hating, but it seems a little overtuned to me. Anyway, moving on, we got a 7 cost Crocodile. So obviously this is going to be a cross guild type character as well as former Baroque Works. So this is playable off of the Buggy leader ability. So you can play the 7 cost card for only 5 Dawn. He's got 1k counter, which is great. On play, play up to 1 character card with the cross guild type or with a type including Baroque Works and a cost of 5 or less from your hand. This is really neat. I like this. I like that they're not just locking it to cross guild. They're not just saying, hey, you have to use all the new cards that we specifically printed for Buggy. You can use some old cards. The EB1, Mr. 1, Daz Bones, comes to mind. That is going to be a really good target for this card because, again, you know, 7 cost Crocodile, you're going to use Buggy leader ability, maybe, to play him on your 5 Dawn turn. Discard a card, play the 7 cost Croc, generate a 7k unit on board, and then you can play the Daz Bones from EB1 off of this guy's effect, off of the Croc's effect. And that Daz Bones lets you draw 2 trash 1. So it essentially replaces itself in hand. It just makes the discard a little less... it just makes the discard from Buggy's leader ability a little less of a cost or a drawback because you are essentially, you know, you're going neutral when you play the Daz Bones off this guy. So I really like that combo. The fact that they allowed Croc to play just Baroque Works cards as well as Cross Guild cards is really, really cool to me. So I'm excited for this. I'm excited to see how that works and what cards people can abuse with this. I always love some, you know, old cards being usable in new decks. In any case, let's move on. We got a Sanji. Now this is going to be a support card for the new purple-black Luffy that is coming out in OP9. It's a 7 cost, 7k power, 1k counter. We're seeing a lot of cards that I wouldn't expect to have counter having counter in this set, which is, you know, that's kind of good, I guess. On play, you may return 1 Dawn or more, 1 or more of your Dawn cards from play to your Dawn deck, and this character gains Rush for the turn. Then rest up to one of your opponent's 6 or lower cost character. That is kind of crazy, bro. That's actually cracked. So you get to return 1 or more Dawn. You can choose how much, right? And the reason that that's important is because Purple-Black Luffy leader ability, if you haven't seen it already, is when 2 or more Dawn are returned, you get 2 Dawn back. 1 rested, 1 active. So Sanji can return 1 if you're playing him in another deck, or he can return 2 if you're playing him in Purple-Black Luffy, and then you will get Rush, and you get to rest a 6 or lower character. This is actually kind of pissing me off because it is just... it's encroaching on red territory and green territory. Like, purple cards have always been that way. Purple cards have always done... well, purple's whole identity is that it can do whatever the other colors in the game do, but at the cost of minusing Dawn, right? Purple has power reduction, it's got rush, it's got resting, it's got bottom decking, it's got everything. But usually it's got even healing, but it can only do one color's thing usually. Like each card only does one other color's thing. This card has both a red effect in that it's getting rushed, and it has a green effect in the sense that it's resting a character, and a 6 or less. That's huge, bro. I would expect it to be like 4 or less. This is like overpowered, man. 7 cost, rush, minus only 1 Dawn, right? If you're playing it in certain decks, or 2 if you want to abuse Luffy leader ability. And then you get to rush and rest a 6? That is So crazy to me. This actually is seeming overpowered the more I think about it. Anyway, guys, don't want to keep this too long. Let's move on. We've got Ben Beckman, Shanks' right-hand man. This artwork looks a little goofy. I don't know. It looks a little like Play-Doh-y to me. Maybe it'll look better in person. But this effect, I like this effect. On play, trash up to one of your opponent's characters with a power of 6,000 or less. Key word here is trash. You are not KOing the character. You are trashing it, right? So this is something we've seen in black. The 6-cost Brook has this ability. The zombie Luffy has this ability. There's a few cards in black that send cards to trash rather than KOing them, and that bypasses KO protection, such as Sabo, Borsalino, and Fukuro, those sort of things. So here is finally a red card that has the ability to bypass KO. So previously the only two colors in the game that had non-KO removal were blue and black, and now we're finally seeing it on red. So this card has pretty big implications for the game in general. So yeah, very excited to see where that goes, what other colors we might get in the future that have the ability to trash rather than KO. But this is very cool. You know, reduce something's power and then just play Beckman to send it to trash. Really dope. Usable against black. It doesn't just auto lose to black. So very good. And again, it has counter. I wouldn't expect it to, but it does. Maybe kind of power creep? I don't know, but I guess that's good. Anyway, moving on. We've got the 10-cost Shanks we saw earlier. Good God, this card artwork is just so freaking dope. But it is a 10-cost 12k, which is in line with the Yonko stat line that we've seen for all previous Yonkos. And very simple ability. All of your opponent's characters have minus 1000 power. That is a continuous effect. It is live on both your turn and your opponent's turn. So just a debuff of minus 1000 and rush. Honestly, a little simple, but who knows? Maybe game breaking. This is one card that I can't really get a read on. I do feel like it's a little... 10 is a little expensive for how immediate the payoff of this card is, but I mean, a 10 cost 12k rusher is pretty freaking insane. And the permanent debuff is also pretty nuts. If you're playing against a non-removal deck, I can imagine this be just really swinging the game. But I do feel like you'd have to be playing a 5-life leader in order to be, dropping this guy safely. I just don't see it working well in any deck that's living a little close to the edge. But yeah. Really solid. I'm excited to see people use it. I want to see it happen. I actually think like Dragon might make really good use of this. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. I'm very excited to see this card be used. Hoping it's good. And this card, we saved the best for last, everyone. This card is freaking nuts. We've got Marshall D. Teach, Blackbeard himself. He is a 10 cost, 12k power. Once again, we've got that signature Yonko stat line. It's also worth noting, this is the last slide that we've got for this video here. So it's worth noting that we have a 10 cost, 12k Shanks, again, and a 10 cost 12k Blackbeard. We have a 10 cost 12k Big Mom, a 10 cost 12k Kaido, multiple copies of those actually, and a 10 cost 12k Luffy. So 10 cost 12k exists for all Yonkos so far. At least one copy, in some cases multiple. That does imply that we should be getting a 10 cost 12k Buggy. So I was saying earlier, will Buggy be able to play cross guild cards of 10 cost? One would hope that he would be getting his own 10 cost character, 10 cost 12k character, which is insane to think that he can play it for 5 Dawn. I mean, they have to make that thing underpowered for how insane that would be to be able to play it on turn 3. But anyway, I'm getting a little sidetracked. Just keep in mind, guys, we may see a Buggy boss monster coming. But here we've got Teach. He is a blocker, and he's just a 12k blocker is just absurd and hilarious. But he's got activate main once per turn if your leader has Blackbeard Pirates type, and if this character was played this turn, up to one of your opponent's leader's effects are negated for the rest of the turn. So you're negating the opponent's leader effects on your turn, which is a little strange. There's very few leaders that would be affected by that, but there is one that's where this makes a huge difference if you haven't thought of it already. And after this, up to one of your opponent's character's effects are negated until the end of your opponent's next turn. That character also cannot attack. That is insane. This is just an insane card. I do feel like, once again, dropping it safely might be a little tough. Maybe Blackbeard plays more blockers in order to be able to drop this guy safely, but once you get him on board, this destroys NL. This absolutely destroys NL, because you shut off NL's leader ability. He can't do his signature healing thing, and then you just swing at life, and he has to take it. If you already have a big unit on board, NL is gonna take that life. He doesn't get to heal, and then he's exposed next turn. And if you use your Blackbeard leader ability in tandem with this, for those of you who haven't seen Blackbeard's leader ability, he gets to discard and then shut off all on-play effects for the opponent for the following turn. If you use this in tandem with your leader ability, NL literally will lose his last life and then will not be able to heal it next turn, because all of his heals are on play. Yamato heal is on play, Ace heal is on play. At NL, it gets absolutely cooked by the Blackbeard deck from what we're seeing thus far. And just in general, being able to negate one of your opponent's character's effects for your turn and for your opponent's turn, and stop it from attacking, is really freaking crazy. I mean, that second part actually might make this a pretty safe card to drop, because if your opponent has a really big scary character on board, you can just play this and say, hey, that 9k, it can't attack next turn. This card is super scary. It is worth noting that it only gets to use its effect once. Even though it's an activate main, they literally only made it that way so that it could work in the Blackbeard deck, because Blackbeard shuts off on plays for himself as well. Basically this is an on-play effect that's phrased as an activate main. But insane effect. Absolutely destroys NL. Probably a few other leaders that I'm not thinking of as well, but that first part where it shuts down a leader effect just for the rest of your own turn, there's very few leaders I can think of that have effects that are happening on your turn, or rather on the leader's opponent's turn. So I think this is most relevant to NL. Still freaking great. And then freezing a character and shutting off its effects is also really huge, along with being a blocker, right? So again, this actually does provide a good amount of defense. Big boss monsters have never been blockers before, except for Aramaki, and no one plays that. But yeah, 12k blockers, freaking insane. Guys, I could keep rambling about this, but this is an exciting card. I really want to see Blackbeard pop off. I want to see that deck shut down some of the decks that have just been running the meta for a little too long now. And Blackbeard is definitely, if Blackbeard ends up being good, Red is also gonna rise to the challenge, because Red, just with its sheer rush and its, especially Sanji, who doesn't want on-play effects, is gonna be a really good counter to Blackbeard. So I think this could really, really shake up the meta. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this. That is it. That's all we've got for today. Very, very exciting news. I'm really hyped for OP9, way more than I am for OP8, to be honest. Guys, stay tuned. We will be posting more news videos as and when things are announced, and also check out the channel for more videos on our tournament uploads, our deck profiles, and just different videos as we prepare for regionals and hopefully Nats. Okay, take it easy, everyone. Peace.